Hi there, welcome back to the lair of the Kraken. The lair of the Eyeless. Here, in the Yoni Brother fragment, in the Fallen Moon, in Pillars of Eternity, on the highest level. We have killed the Kraken. But what else will await us when we hammer on the strange crystal waiting for us?
Sure.
Dramatic music. We still have the possibility to rest, and I think we should do so if we can do that still. And it costs us. What will we find out about the crystal that we should hammer against the Eyeless? Nothing. Hey there. An enormous crystal juts from the wall like a spearhead protruding from a wound. An army of reflections stares back at you from the crystal's perfect facets. It echoes the sound of your footsteps in soft, ringing hums. Someone will have to take up Abaddon's hammer and strike the crystal, and Ondra warned that whoever does so will be buried in this place with the Eyeless. There's only one hero. It is ourselves. You heft the hammer and swing it at the crystal. A perfect clear tone rings through the air and resonates through your teeth. Seconds later, ripples shiver through the water. Something big is coming. You give the others a final nod. The rest of the party scrambles out of the flooded cavern and flees through the tunnels. You continue hammering at the crystal, each strike magnifying the last. The echoes build into physical tremors. Meanwhile, a heavier rhythm pulses through the cave, footsteps, dozens of them. The others round a corner, only to see a line of Eyeless advancing. The creatures stagger to the rhythm of the hammer thuds below. Yet they crane their necks toward the party, ratcheting back their piston arms. Will cast Repulsing Seal. Consider who will cast it, well, quarrel. A glowing seal blooms from the ground. The first two Eyeless step onto it and fall backwards, taking most of the others with them. Dodge past them. The party sprints past the distracted monsters. Fortunately, the creatures are too focused on the hammering to give chase. They continue toward the cavern. You maintain a steady tempo on the crystal. Eyeless gather in the cavern where they batter the walls in time with the hammer's rhythmic blows. The ground shakes, falling rocks and shattering crystals splash to the ground. The party flees through dark, rumbling corridors. More spellbound Eyeless shamble along, but they are too entranced by the swelling cadence to take more than an idle swipe at the party. The tunnel narrows, light filters through their head. The exit must be around the next bend. But it's clogged with rubble. Meanwhile, the ground drops several feet at once. The tunnel begins rolling on its axis. The distant sound of rushing water echoes from the cavern. Lever the rubble with a pry bar. There must be a weak spot, but we'll take a practiced eye to find it. Who will clear the way? A practiced eye. Kelwasser. Kelwasser cleanly wedges the pry bar into several different nooks, but can't seem to find a leverage point. Must be a weak spot, but we will take a practiced eye to find it. My god, consider other options. Frenzy and smash the rubble. No. Dig through the rubble with bare hands. Everyone attacks the rubble together, tearing at the boulders with desperate strength. A roar of shattering rock rises from the depths and the moon drops several more feet. A few minutes of furious work finally clear the passage. But Christine Duskwalker is wounded and exhausted from the exertion. Christine Duskwalker takes ragged, pained breaths and cradles one arm stiffly. The moon shudders again. The party escapes onto the ice, just as another thunderous crash sounds from below. Eyeless continue pouring into the cavern from every visible tunnel and crevice. Your ears ring at the ever-growing cacophony of smashing rock and shattering crystal. Meanwhile, the water level's rising. A skull-splittering crack rends the air, and a surge of water knocks you from your feet. The entire cavern rotates, plunging you into a freezing soup of jagged metal, torn flesh and stone. There's a dash across the lake. The ice squeals and crackles, rocking dangerously underfoot. The sinking moon groans. Long fissures race across the ice. Blessed was Wengwith, quickest of his tribe. Yeah, that's what. Consider who will cast it. Well, weakest team. The words fill the party with vigor. Everyone speeds ahead while the ice cracks harmlessly behind them. At last, everyone reaches the safety of the shore in the middle of the lake. Only the tip of the moon is still visible above the ice. Survivors watch in silence as it sinks into the depths. The world seems to be falling apart in slow motion. You sink into the lake alongside the dark shapes of moon fragments and crushed eyeless. Your limbs ache and your lungs burn. Sparks flicker across your vision. Not sparks. Scales! Lagofath gather in front of you, and you notice something unusual in their iridescent eyes. A spark of uncommon intelligence. You hear a whisper in your mind. You freed us from our prison in Durgan's battery. Consider our debt repaid. The Lagofath, possessed by the spirits of Maroon and some of the other Pagrunen, swarm and rush you to the surface. At last you reach the shallows. You punch through a thin crust of ice and crawl ashore, trembling but alive. What would you do? We're the hero of this. We couldn't cast our friends into the certain death. And it wasn't certain, and maybe they wouldn't have been saved by the Pagrunen. You stand at the edge of the lake. The bobbing of the ice and the rippling of the water's surface slows until you're looking at a moment frozen in time. When the world begins moving once more, it moves in reverse. The surface of the water churns and roils like it's about to spew something up, and it does. The fragment of Yoni Brother rises, unbroken. Ice reforms across the surface of the lake, spreading in long, freezing fingers. Eyeless file out of the moon fragment and onto the ice. They wind around the moon in an ever-widening spiral. They stop as their head of their line reaches you. They speak in a single voice that resonates with grinding metal and hissing steam.
We shatter and sink, discarded like worn tools. Why have you consigned us to oblivion?
Kebaba Forge Dawn. Are you serious? No. You would have killed many innocent people.
We do not cherish violence, but we will fight to defend the legacies of this world.
The Eyeless stand tall, ratcheting their arms back.
In one hand a hammer, in the other a mace. We protect the greatest works of civilization, lest it collapse beneath its own weight.
Then why did you storm Durgan's battery 200 years ago? That protest is as sharp as squealing metal.
We would sooner sacrifice our own bodies than dislodge a single stone from such a place. Why do you torment us with baseless accusations?
Well, Ondra changed you. Who could say this? Who else could have done such damage to a mighty Pagrunen fortress? No. I think we know it's Ondra. Ondra changed you from a preserver to a destroyer. The Eyeless are still, but you hear their gears whir as their collective spirit ponders this.
Then we were betrayed.
Yeah, I mean, Ondra, yes, you were transformed against your will, if you have a will.
And we were made to betray something we cherish.
Because they are Abaddon's creatures. Abaddon wouldn't have never done that. You feel their bitter agony, like a hammer strike. And what was that?
The bedrock of civilization.
Suddenly they attack the ice beneath them and slicing and shattering it with mighty swings from their iron arms. And where the ice breaks, ancient towers rise, blotting out the blue sky and white peaks. What is this?
Each culture builds on the bones of the last. Yet many only look up at where they would go, never down at the foundations that bear them. Like a mason who builds a listing tower.
The remaining ice sheet cracks and groans.
What peril do they inflict on their progeny? And what dishonor on their forebears?
You hear the strain of crumbling stone in the voice of the Eyeless. The betrayal of memory upsets you greatly.
It is accepting a gift only to spit in the face of the giver. Every advance in the crafts and institutions of Kith was forged by skill and sacrifice.
You feel these words and the anger behind them in your bones.
A people cut off from their history will wither, and they deserve no less.
They deserve no less. No, you shouldn't kill people for that. Then what do you
To
suggest?
pull the blinders from the eyes of gods and Kith. That is why we must return to ourself and restore Abaddon.
Well, Abaddon seemed like a good enough fellow, but he's a god. He's a ruler. Something that we might not want. We want the people to rule themselves. Wow, you speak as if history were a guide, yet it doesn't always provide a good example. How could we distract them without making them return to be Abaddon? You must not restore Abaddon's memory or his dominion over preservation. Perhaps Abaddon was meant to forget his past. Some knowledge is too dangerous for this world. Now that would be going with Ondra. Wow, what a tough decision here. Memory remains a burden. No. This is Ondra's answers. That is Abaddon's answers. That is a shut up answer. That is... I don't know what that is. What do you mean about returning to yourself?
When Ione Brotha fell, Abaddon lost much. His will to preserve, the memory of how and why he died. But he built us with fragments of his own soul. In returning, we can restore what was taken from him.
I mean, Ondra is still there. We cannot destroy Ondra. Maybe we need Abaddon. He at least likes the people. He saved them. So maybe that's the best. If we cannot distract him, and if we cannot... if we have to go with Ondra otherwise. Then we'll allow him to return to himself. Very well, return to yourself and be the god of preservation once more.
We shall see this world and its people restored.
A great wind shoves at your back, your ears pop, and you feel for a moment as if all of the air is being sucked from the sky. Suddenly it ends, and you are standing in the snow looking over Kairon's scar.
The Eyeless disappeared beneath the lake, their bond to Ondra finally severed. With this threat ended, hope returned to the White March. Hunters returned to the wildernesses, and travelers to the roads. Tales of the Watcher's bravery replaced stories of monsters in the woods. The villagers of Stalwart busied their hands with work and their tongues with song, eager to seize on the promise of peace.
Whoa. The Forgotten Army. Yes. And here we are. All of that has sunken beneath the surface. That is the Yoni brother. Could we return to that place somehow? Through the ice? Is it still possible to go there and look what is left? No. It is done. Sunken. Gone. I guess we should maybe return to Stalwart. Or what else is there still to do? Not that much, eh? A ritual in Crucible Keep. That is something we could do before we return to Stalwart. Let's go to Crucible Keep and bless the Hammer of Abaddon. Accept. Allow me a celebratory piece of chocolate. It seems we have finished the White March. We have completed it, not finished it.
It's just a quick nap.
And now, let's go to Crucible Keep. Actually, also, would like to purchase something. But first, let's go Crucible Keep. I know you're exhausted. But come on, you can take it. Darkness falls. How have you completed the White March? I think of it not as completely complete, as there's still the mystery of that dragon and the lost soul. Maybe that's something we could do. Iron and flame. The rear of the keep. Here it is. The Shrine of Abaddon. Back in classic surroundings. So, I want some refreshment now before I read what is probably a great dialogue as well. So thank you for watching, and happy gaming to you. We'll see each other in the next episode, where we bless Abaddon's hammer and return to Stormwood. Have a good time until next time, and happy gaming.